There are two conversations that we can have in this video. We can talk about one, the game, the series, McDavid versus Eichel, etc. And on the other hand, we can talk about the Oilers. Now, I know this video is kind of titled and clickbaited in a way where it's like, yeah, you kind of know we're feeding off of the result of yesterday's Edmonton and Vegas series coming to a close. That's kind of why this video is being made. But as we go further into the conversation, what I wanted to do was sort of broaden the topic and evolve our talks to include more so of the Oilers story as a whole, not just isolated on this particular series. Because, sure, when you talk about the series, when you talk about Game 6, you talk about the Oilers losing 5-2. They started off that third period down 4-2. They couldn't score any goals. They looked pretty good, but they didn't get anything by Adin Hill, because for some reason that guy is all of a sudden a Vezina caliber goaltender. When it comes to the game, we could talk all the talk about Stuart Skinner, how he was shaky this series, how it might have been due diligence to give Jack Campbell the start. Oh, Soup versus Skinner. Hopefully we don't see any Edmonton fans turning on Skinner, because even though he did play pretty roughly in this series, he was kind of the reason the Oilers even made it to the playoffs in the first place. So I don't want to see any Stuart Skinner slander in the comment section of this video. However, even though that may be the case, you could definitely say, hey, wait a minute, you know how the saying goes, ride the hot hand? You know whose hand was hot in this series? Jack Campbell. The multiple times he had come in for relief, he looked pretty good. Stuart Skinner, on the other hand, pretty shaky. He got pulled multiple times in the past few games. So giving Skinner the start, especially seeing him let in the first goal, did not seem like the best way to do things. Maybe it was a little bit too little, too late, putting Campbell in for the third. Maybe he should have had the start period. Maybe he should have been put in earlier in the game. You could talk about that. You could talk about the lack of production. You could talk about the stone wall that was Adin Hill and how he was able to steal a series. You could even talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. You could talk about Eichel. I kind of want to go over Eichel in this series. I want to talk about McDavid. I want to talk about Draisaitl. And then we're also going to talk about the Oilers, because overall, when it comes to Edmonton versus Vegas, the top dogs on either side did indeed show up to play, and that's no surprise. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were two of the best players in this entire postseason run, as they kind of were last year, too. McDavid finishes off the postseason with 20 points in 12 games played. Draisaitl has 18 in 12. Of course, Draisaitl had 13 goals in 12 games, which is honestly kind of disappointing considering he was at like 2 goals a game heading into the Vegas series, and he started out that game one with 4 goals. He had 2 goals in game 2, so he was really looking to carry forward with that goal scoring. But Leon Draisaitl had 1 assist in the final 4 games of the series. Not good. You then go over to Connor McDavid, and his numbers look a tad better than Draisaitl. McDavid in Game 1 had 2 assists, Game 2 he had 3 points, and then he had 2 points in Games 4 and 5, and then of course the responding goal in this Game 6. Connor McDavid had himself, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in 6 games against the Vegas Golden Knights, which, I mean, look, that kind of cements him back at the top of the field in terms of point production, because he overtook his buddy Draisaitl, since Draisaitl kind of went cold towards the end there. But the guy that really did stand on his head and start producing like crazy, he showed up when he needed to show up, and he kind of redeemed himself in the eyes of every NHL fan who had been taunting him, making fun of this guy, and saying that he wasn't worth all the controversy. Jack Eichel. 2 points in Game 1, 3 points in Game 3, 3 points in Game 5, and another point in Game 6. Puts his total up to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points in the 6-game sample. Sure, Connor McDavid outproduced Eichel, but that's not a surprise. Everybody kind of knew, kind of expected McDavid to outproduce everybody. Even Draisaitl. Draisaitl went cold, McDavid's right there to carry the torch and pick things up. But for Jack Eichel, this may just be the first laugh that he really gets. And you know how everybody says, oh, it's the last laugh. Oh yeah, that's the last time he's able to go out there and get the one up on the other guy. Nope, this is not the last laugh. This is the first laugh, because Jack Eichel in his entire NHL career has never been placed above McDavid in any of these categories, especially after being selected second overall in 2015 behind McDavid. He was always a step behind, he was always seen as an inferior player, and rightfully so. I mean, nobody is Connor McDavid, but in this series, he was, at the very least, Connor McDavid's equal. In terms of point production, he was only behind by 1, and in terms of magnitude, importance, and what the impact was that he served for Vegas. Sure, Jack Eichel was not the most important player for Vegas in Game 6 when they won. You could talk about Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault, the free players that Vegas got all those years ago when they were an expansion team. They stood out to play and they were good. But Jack Eichel was always in there, in the background, getting these points and putting daggers to backs in Edmonton. Very weird phrasing, I think, but I was kind of thinking of Robin Lehner and the Alan Walsh thing. Yeah, that's kind of why I did that. Okay, either way, Jack Eichel, for the first time in his career, has the one-up on McDavid. He took over a series, his team triumphs, and for the 4th time in their 6-year NHL history, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to the 3rd round. And if they play off against Seattle, then you know that's going to be Gary Bettman's dream come true. Seattle versus Vegas in the Western Conference Finals? Imagine telling that to a hockey fan back in 2016. Seattle, Vegas, baby. NHL teams, and they're good. Crazy stuff, man. But what I also wanted to do to round off this video was just kind of give a holistic conversation on the Oilers and their status, because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have been so good this entire time. It's just, with the way this series ended, you could still see that there are cracks in the mold that is the Oilers. Sure, they have 2 of the best players in the world, the 2 best players on any given night, yet they're still not able to get things done. Their depth wasn't there when they needed it. Their other top scorers weren't there when they needed it. Their goaltender, while it was all right the entire season because Skinner was a pretty solid goalie for most of the year, he crumbled away towards the end, and you didn't give Jack Campbell the opportunity to prove why you're paying him so much gosh darn money. I mean, just the optics of all this doesn't look good, doesn't reflect well on the Oilers that despite this level of talent, they still couldn't get it together. Sure, you gotta give credit to Vegas, but I mean, look, a lot of people, myself included, had Edmonton winning the cup in their bracket. Like, this had to be the year that McDavid was going to go out there and do that. He had the best season we have seen out of any NHL player in 30 years. Like, 150 points, if you add on the playoff points, 170 points in however many games, like, Connor McDavid is a man possessed, and we know how good he is. It's just, even in a game where he goes out there and scores a goal when his team gets eliminated, even in a series where he has 10 points in 6 games, the team still comes up short, and the final scores of these games reflect so poorly. Sure, you look at the deserve to win-o-meter and you see the Oilers had a 70% chance of winning this game based off of the expected chances. Halfway through the second period, they had a whole bunch of opportunities, especially towards the end of the third. The Oilers were just pushing it on. But at the end of the day, Adin Hill stands tall. And you could say you got goalied. That's fair. But you lost 4-2. And I mean, the scores of these games weren't friendly to Edmonton either. 5-1 loss in Game 3, 6-4 loss in Game 1, and then the 5-2 loss here. Sure, the Game 5 result was a lot friendlier. I mean, 4-3 is a lot easier to stomach. But there were 3 goals in the span of a minute and a half in that second period, and that cost you the game. You could say that cost you the series, maybe even. So, for Edmonton, where do you go from here? What exactly is there that you can do? You've got so much talent, but all you got to show for it is a second-round appearance against Vegas this year where you get kind of humiliated towards the end, a third-round exit last year where you were swept, like you looked so dominant against LA and then against Calgary, and then boom, the Colorado Avalanche come in here and absolutely whoop you to next year. Nowadays, McDavid and Draisaitl, they've been in this league for what, 8? 7 years? Something like that? It's been forever. And you still haven't gotten over that hump. I know it takes a while sometimes, but come on, where do you go from here? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. I kind of wanted to split this video up into 2 parts, but I don't really know if I did that properly. But either way, you can let me know your thoughts about Eichel, the Vegas Golden Knights, the series, Adin Hill, Stuart Skinner, the Campbell starting, etc., as well as McDavid and Draisaitl in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99, and bye.